Alright, so I think you can kind of see me. I hope so. What up, Dano? Check this out. Oh no, I'm out of the screen. My bad. Feel free to send me all the shirts you want, guys. Um, so we're gonna do things kind of the same. This is episode 20 of Tree Talk. We'll start it out here. I have to fix a couple ropes. Um, in the last one, and I'm gonna use it as I'm gonna show a little demo of some footage that's coming up. I released a short of it, and it was honestly one of the scariest ones I've put myself into, because the tree was so dead you couldn't control it. It was out of control. It was higher than anything else except for the one it was pressed against, and then it kept rolling towards the house. So absolutely terrifying. What's going on, Billy? Brandon? Tree veteran, born again, what's going on? You got machine running today. Right on, brother. That is so awesome. How we doing, Billy? What's up, Brandon? Ground Pounder, what's up, brother? So, when I was doing that tree, I ended up cutting one of my rigging ropes. Well, the only other rigging rope I have. And then I have a half-inch rope that I use for almost everything. Whether it be like small rigging, and I always use it for pulling over trees. So that thing actually exploded when the tree came over because it ripped it the wrong way from the tree jack. And so we'll get into all that. Thanks, Ground Pounder. Setting the camp. And guys, oh, that's awesome. Well, thanks for swinging in, brother. Yeah, Greg sent me this, and was stoked on it. I absolutely love seeing Dano getting her done out there. Yeah, yeah, I gotta rep it. So this one, so this is what happened. Actually, let me move you guys a little bit closer. Sorry. So this is what happened. I mean, it absolutely exploded. There's a knot I had. I'm also gonna try a different knot, one I haven't seen used before. So we'll do that when we get inside where there's some more light. The Orange Shirt Club. Yeah, I'm calling in Al's. Right on. That's awesome. Okay, so what happened is I had this, and the tree was, I was in this tree. It was dead, burnt, and hollow, and it was holding this other tree. Well, this tree was supposed to still be alive. I'm not even in the camp. So I'm in this one, and it's completely dead, burnt, hollow, and both trees were supposed to be alive. He sprayed so much weed killer, I do believe, that he just basically killed everything off, and the fire had a little bit to do with it too. But the tree that was laying in the other one, I was told was still alive. It was rooted in, so I didn't have much for worries. I just needed to get it out of this other one, and I have a drawing inside of everything. But and in the process, it was absolutely terrifying. The root system was rotted and completely broke off, and the tree just continued to roll and move closer and closer towards the house. And it wasn't even a finished house yet. That's how new this house was. It is completely redone since the fire, and spick and span perfect. So that was a situation where I showed up there and I needed to get both of those trees done, and I didn't get started till like 11. So it'll be some fun viewing on that one. But yeah, let's get going into this. So I don't even know if this knot technically has a name, but this is what I'm going with. You guys know that I like the scaffold knot. Well, I'm going to show you a different version of that will give me double loops here because of, well, there's a reason for it, and I'll explain here in a little bit when we get inside. But I need to fix this rope. I think I may have, yeah, I think I already did this one, and then I have this one. That is, it got hit with the chainsaw. Um, just having a miserable day, frantically trying to hurry, and in the process goofed up. So move this up. So I've got this taped off there, but let me show you guys something. Look how lucky I am. So I cut the rope, but I only lose maybe, I don't know, 7, 8 foot, which I got so lucky as far as that went. But so I've taped it off. Now anybody who has been here for any length of time knows what I feel about when it's time to do this. There's one way, and oops. See if I can do something here. It's gonna be janky. Let's see if it'll work. Oh, it just keeps bending. Stop bending. Nope, it won't hold. Gravity wins. Won't stay. I wish I could get it to stay. Dang it. Oh yeah, I can right here. Let's do this. Okay, my bad guys, I'm sorry. I'm gonna move you over to here. Okay, so normally I use a samurai sword, but because I feel like that's probably not the smartest thing to tell people to do, I went with a little pocket knife instead. So yeah, so I do every rope the same. So figure out what end is what. So you see the black mark. I want to be to like this side as much as I can, and I want to cut in to where that tape's at, and it'll keep a fray from happening. The problem is, I think I've used this for so much stupid stuff that it's not the sharpest anymore. But let's see if it'll do it. Nope. So here's what you really should do. I was just being goofy. I heard that you can get these hot, like put a bit of a flame on them with like a torch, and they'll go right through. I've never done that, but it sounds right. So that's what you want. You don't want a bunch of frays sticking out. And the tree guy, what's going on, brother? So up in Illinois, my family has. Use a hot knife. Yeah, see, I've had bad experience with just a hot knife. I would think maybe a razor blade, but that's a dull razor blade, and it went right through it. So you keep the tape on, and get a torch, and I try to heat up just the center first. That's what I'm looking to get, because if you try to do too much of it at once, it'll swell, and I don't want it fatter at the end. I just don't want it to fray. So the reason you're burning it is to make everything become one instead of it being separate, like I'll show you in the cut. And you can almost use that little bit of tape to help you. So a lot of times I'll just take like my knife or whatever it was I had. I'll do that, and then I'll kind of, when it's still hot, you can roll it and like keep your hand on it if you wanted, I guess. But see, it ends up throwing up some, oh, that was old stuff, my bad. But now what I'll do is put a little bit of red tape on that, but that's all sealed together. And it's all one now, melted together. Works really good. I think that's the only thing I had to do, but let me show you what I mean. So, see how there's different parts of the rope? Oh, my bad. There's the sleeve here, which is this part, this outer part, right here, and it comes off, and there's a bunch of these strands that make it, but inside it's got that core. So that's why these are so effective in rigging, is because of the way it can stretch and like absorb impact and stuff. That's why I like them more than anything. So this is a bull rope, and the other one here is just a 1/2 inch. I think it's either Samson or New England. So I do high vis or colorful tape at the ends of the ropes. That way, if your rope's sitting there in a pile and you have to find the end, this makes it a little bit easier. That's the main reason I do it. It helps too. So yeah, there, the bull rope has been done. The rest of it back in the bag. I've had this tree stuff bag forever, to the point that the bottom blew out. And if you look here, I actually sewed it together with metal. Like I used a little bit of like twine and wire and weaved it in through there, and it goes like it was cut from there way over to here. It's so old that the other day Jake must have grabbed a hold, he didn't even tell me, grabbed a hold of it, and it ripped, the handle ripped apart. It's dry rotted. So I prefer to have all my stuff in rope bags if I can. Let me see what I have here. I think I just need to take this clip in and we can go inside. Here, you guys come with me. The other thing we're going to do today is I'm going to show a few different techniques on how to pull a tree over. There's a reason for that too. I will be right back to get into the comments the rest of the time. So, I'm not sure what. Okay. All right. I just want to make sure I wasn't missing anybody's comments, and I'm sorry if I did, but I'll be right back. Actually, I need a light. Did I leave anything? I may not have. Okay, yeah, I left probably the most important thing, which was the rope and tape. Alright. Back to the familiar place. Get this moth out of here. Sweet. Alright. Okay. So, my bad for that. That wasn't a plan. Tom Yoder, what's going on? Oh, flat file and that torch just at the end of the rope. Yeah, that'll get her done. Okay, so I like because I'm going to finish up my rope thing real quick, and then we'll go into everything that's normal. Then we'll go into like the demo for the pulling the tree over and stuff. I have a few different ways to do that. Occasionally get some. Chris, what's going on, brother? How are you? So, my only concern, I prefer when I'm rigging, on my rigging setup, I like to have a clip. That's just the way I've always done it. That's the way I feel comfortable. I feel like I'm way more efficient with that setup. And it's just what I'm used to. So it's a lot quicker to set up. And I don't use like normal old carabiners. Since I was a kid, this is what we've always used, was these exact kind of clips. And they're like old lanyard clips, like from your lanyard. The old ones that had like the slip knot, well, this knot's really good. It locked in way better than I thought. I tightened it down trying to practice to get it, and yeah, it definitely did its job. Oh, I'm pulling on the wrong damn rope, that's why. Yeah, I forgot what oh yeah, this clip. It's not a normal like carabiner. I have some steel rigging carabiners, and those are, sometimes you can get close to being like $100 for a carabiner. But I'll show you. This is what I use when I'm rigging. Okay? So the only issue I ever have with these, and concern, I guess I've never had an issue, but I do have a concern, and it's also the reason that I keep a very close knot, because of this. That hole's so big, and that bend is somewhat sharp. So my normal concern with it would have been, like, I'm worried that that bend radius right there is too much, and something, it could break, you know, if there's like a bad spot in the rope or something. And the way I'd normally do it would be like a simple slip knot or a hangman's knot or something, but I would tie it up like this, and I'll show you the knot that I'm going to use. It's very similar to this, but it allows me to have 2 strands of rope on the end right here, and it kind of takes away that scare that I have of it being too sharp on it, because you can double up the rope. So normally it would be about like that. I would dress that down a little more. It would be much cleaner, and there would be like more tail. But the reason I do it like this, and I prefer it, is because of how close and like how the exiting rope orientates against the rest of the rope. So I would take like a little slab of tape, and I would tape it off right here and watch to see if it's pulling on it, and it's coming out of the tape or anything. So it's kind of a little checker thing that I do, so I can just inspect regularly. But if you notice, there's a bit of like wiggle there, and that's kind of a sharp bend radius. So I've heard this knot called many different things. MacGyver. I just use an anchor bend. Oh, right on. Yeah, I mean, I like an anchor bend when I'm doing when I'm climbing on like a taut line. Why the long face? 4 years of Kamala, bud. Yeah, I used to have a very short, stubby, round face until that was a realization. You're funny. Isn't that a triple fisherman? See, I've heard it many different ways. I've heard it called a triple fisherman. I've heard it called a scaffold. I've heard it called a bunch of different ways. The knot he's talking about, and I'll show you the reason that it becomes kind of so effective when you're climbing. This is what we used to use to climb. Not only we use this to rig, we had a couple of these. That was basically the only things we had. We had one on our rigging, and then we had one on our climb rope. And the way it was always set up would be, it would be anchored off to the carabiner, or to this, and it would be, you would never take the knot out. Well, I don't even know what we would used to use. I think we would just do overhand knots repeatedly. But I found the anchor knot is way better for that. Isn't that a triple fisherman? Tail exits the same way up. Oh, really? Because here's the way I've always seen an anchor knot. It goes through once and then again. So here's why I like it a lot on this, is because you get 2 strands of rope there. Then you take the tail or the end, you go around it and then back through it. So what ends up happening there is you get the rope with this, you get it to exit out over here, so that when you're going to climb on this, it ends up being the rope's going the right way. It's not like torquing on the clip. I'll show you after I get this untied. So you have your tail, and you would just throw it up around something, and then take your tail to the other end and tie your taut line. And it ends up being real uniform and kind of clean because of the way that that rope exits. It exiting kind of a bit sideways. Coming out the side there is the direction that I want it to go. And I could bring that system, you can extend it to get it further away from, if you got long arms, shrink it if you're using like a short bridge. But yeah, then you're climbing on that. That's your brake. There's your knot, you collapse it. And, but yeah, that's the way I've always seen an anchor knot. Maybe I'm wrong though. No, Mike, you're saying. Okay. Yes, it comes out towards the blades. Yeah. And the one I was just showing, the rope actually comes up this way. And that's the reason I like it for my rigging setup. If it would come out this way, I probably wouldn't like it because I don't want the rope or the tail end sticking out and getting stuck on stuff. That's how I first did it. Then I started using a split tail, then upgraded to the zigzag. That's so awesome, Trav. Yeah, I think that's a lot of us. This is the route we went. I climbed a taut line for probably over 10 years before I ever knew that there was any other way to climb a tree. Yeah. So this is all I ever knew. I didn't know there was other ways. I didn't even know there was a Blake's hitch. I knew there was a taut line. And most guys, because I'm so skinny, most guys would do 2 under and 2 over the top. Well, I'm so skinny, I needed quicker action. And I was smaller even back then. So I would only do 1 on top. That's how my dad climbed. That's how my brother climbed. So it was like, that's the way I learned. But I understand. Reckon it's the same. I think so. Yeah, you could take that wrap, probably these 2, instead of putting the 2 here, you could probably put the 2 up on this, and it would exit like you're saying. Yeah, I know it would. What I've done is I've anchored in the 2 as opposed to anchoring on the single, which is maybe what you did, Tree Veteran. Maybe I'm wrong, but Kevin Boyd, me too, bro. Oh, that's awesome. See, I think a lot of us. Who else was there? Ryan. What's up, Ryan? How are you, brother? So, yeah, I want to show you guys this knot. And I'm going to try to tie it off here. And I'll explain why I like this. Now, you see how I had the 2 there. I feel safer with 2 wraps on that as opposed to a single one. And I'll get less movement with 2. And that's what I want. So, I was trying to figure out something. I came up with my own knot. And it's a combination. Well, it's actually the scaffold and the anchor knot in one. So I anchor it with the anchor knot, then use a scaffold knot to exit it so that I can have the double wrap. But I feel like there's some way that maybe could come loose, or it'll be so tight you can never get it undone or something. So it's something I'm going to look at and kind of mess with and see how it works. But this one I found on like a fisherman, like guys that fish. And check this out. So I want to do it somewhere where I have plenty of light. Oh. Oh, I can use this. Okay. So, let's. Dang, it just keeps getting better. So, I have my hook here. Try to get it in the can. Okay, there's the hook. So, the rope out. Probably don't need that much, maybe there. So, you go here, go up, and do this. Ah, dang it. This rope is much, I need some more rope. This is much stiffer than the other stuff that I was just tying, so this may be tricky. So you take start double wrapping. Then at this point, you go back up through here with the tail. There. And then take it into this. So, and I think the reason they would use this knot, and it's used in certain, maybe it wasn't even fishing. Was that guy a fisherman? I don't know. It was used for just anchoring. It was like a knot specialist guy. I'll try to see if I can look that up so I can leave like a link to his page or something. But you want to run it all the way back down. And I think the reason they use this knot is probably so you can actually hide this. It would not even show. If you wanted to hide it up in the knot, it'll stay. But basically what you've done is made a scaffold knot that's double looping up here, and you use the tail up through here to bite again. So, I'm trying to remember which one they did first. I think they tightened it down first, then they pulled that one. Here we go. I'm going to try it. So you could actually, if you wanted to, it's going to have to take some weight dropping into it to actually get it. Oh, there we go. I'm twisting the wrong way. To get it to bite down completely. But when it does, I'll show you guys after it's been in there for a little bit. Damn you. So there's oh, my bad. There it is. And then I would cinch it down after I cinch this one. I would cinch the other one. And now I got it on a bite there. I don't know the name of that. I probably should have figured that out. But again, I think that's going to help with maybe being able to get that untied and it not being so tight. We'll see. That's kind of what I'm thinking with it. But what I want to do is, because this, I want to know if this anchor is moving, I do want to slap a little bit of tape on it. And keep an eye on if that piece is actually moving. Because, like I said, I've never seen anybody use it, and I've never used it. So I want to keep an eye on it. I know that it'll work. I just want to know if it starts to slip. It's not one that you'll put there and never check again. It's too new to me to do something like that. But there it is. I like a big knot out here to get a little weight to throw it to stuff. Also, it's kind of a bit of a handle. And I don't want a bunch of tail, because if you get a really small limb, you end up getting into the tail when you clip it around. But if I start to worry about it, you can always slap a half hitch before you clip it, and then it'll take less stress on this point. But yeah, that's it. that's my setup for now, and I will let you guys know how this knot ends up doing. See if I like it or not. But yeah, that's it. I don't know what we're gonna call it, but I'll see if there's an actual name for it out there. I gotta open the door, even though it's gonna get bug filled in here. It's too dang hot. All right, now back to normal. What's going on? Schroeder, what's up, buddy? I like it. Oh, cool. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a bit better for the scaffold knot, or the double fisherman, because it just does that exact same thing that you would do with it, except for it tucks the tail and it makes a loop back up through this, and then it gets in a bite on it down through there. So now I can kind of inspect that and keep an eye on it. But I like how uniform that is. So if I'm pulling this up through a crotch, it's pretty streamlined. Like, there's not a lot of things that would catch. I'll tell you the truth, I really like to go right. I use bigger tape normally, but I only have this electrical tape now. So I'm going to put a little bit right at the very end. And the reason for that is you go to pull this through a crotch, and that little bit right there will catch and open up, and will be the biggest pain. When you go right here, it'll flip up to about right there, and then the rope's going out this way, and it catches every single crotch. So before that happens, there, we did that. Now keep an eye on this. What else? I think that was it for the stuff I needed to do. And so I'll talk to you guys. We'll go into like this week and YouTube tree stuff. And I'll show you my demo thing of what happened on that tree job. So yes, cool axe chip. Need a good axe man for short opening. How about the hang fisher? Because it looks like a hangman's knot and a fisherman's knot. Yeah, it kind of does, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I've heard some different names, and I wouldn't doubt it if that's not like similar to some of them. Like, I've seen it called so many different names. Even the scaffold knot, which kind of puzzles me. So, Interstate 10, because of all the wild turns. That may be it. Depending on if it doesn't hold, we can just call it the dummy knot. So I'll find out. What else? Okay. Let me show you guys what I ended up getting into. Here's what that looked like. So you need to pretend like this and this is downhill of this house. The house is up on top of the hill, and as the hill goes down, there's this tree, and there's this big dead tree that comes over. It laid against it, and it started to get this bend, and it went exactly with this right here. So this limb looks like it would block it from getting to the house. I think I just drew it wrong. It's actually on the back side. So what happened is I started cutting here, taking pieces. It started to roll towards the house, like rolling this way. And that wasn't the way it was supposed to go. It was supposed to go the other way, down the hill. Now the power lines were at the bottom of this little wooded hill, and then there's a road right there. So this tree was completely burnt to a crisp. It actually was completely hollow and only had about that much life around it. And I could feel when this moved, it felt like it was going to break this tree off every time. And these were the two biggest trees on the property as far as height. So Squirrely, John, what is going on? Let's see. Yeah, definitely, Jeff. Yeah, you definitely got to try it to find out if you're going to like it. You miss out on a lot of things by just not trying them. So I've done that with a lot of things in life. Regret it afterwards. So happy Saturday, you too, John. Those hangers, tricky. And sometimes they're easy, yeah. But when they stuck, definitely. Yeah, and the problem was, I couldn't, if this didn't fall absolutely perfect, it was going through these power lines. And these power lines were brand new. They had been up for 1 week because a truck had just came through, an 18-wheeler, and ripped them all down. So that tells you from the road at the bottom of that little of the hill was a very low power line, and even even this stem of it that won out, it was in this tree, and it was almost over the power line out into the road. It legit looked absolutely impossible when I was there. Originally, as I walked up, I'm like, this thing's twice as big as I thought. It's absolutely stone cold dead. The root system at the base is mush. It's completely rotted off. Um, this part I couldn't really see. These roots were up in the air, but these I couldn't see. And I was told that this tree was green and was still healthy. What happened is it had a bunch of vines that grew up it, and he sprayed a bunch of killer all over it a long time ago to kill the vines. Well, I think he just wiped out the rest of the tree, or the tree slowly was dying because there was a huge house fire where the house burned down, this tree burnt up, this tree burnt up, and yeah, I was told this one was completely alive, no issue, just big, and this one was alive too. I show up, this one's completely dead, it's completely hollow, it's burnt to a crisp to the point that I got black the whole way. Ground pounder, I may need a new shirt. Um, yeah, I was wearing your shirt when I did this, and it was one of them situations where my daughter needed something, and this was going to take care of it. And I had drove 3 hours to get there. So I needed to get both them trees down without damaging the house, hitting the wires, hanging up, or breaking anything else. And this tree here was literally right next to the house. Like, it was right next to the house. I kind of put the house a little bit away. But this one was right next to it, to the point that a bunch of these limbs here were all the way over the house. Oh, my bad. We're all the way over the house. And I had to rig a bunch of these out of this tree. But before I could rig too much of this one, I had to take care of this, and I needed to know what was going on. So I went down and I took all this off, made it a straight pole, that way nothing could catch. Then I went up here and I started cutting. And as I cut sections each time, it tried to pinch my saw in between the two trees. And it kept rolling towards me, further at me. It would move a few inches each time. And it would jar the tree really bad sometimes. But what I had going for me, and what I actually didn't put in this picture, is there was a limb here, about right here. Maybe it was right here. Let's do this. So there's a limb right here that grew up and was actually holding this thing. I felt like if it was to start to go, I didn't have too much of a concern because I was pretty for sure that this limb here was going to hold it. So if you look, see what I mean? So it was kind of, if it broke off this, originally, I'm thinking this thing here is definitely going to hold it. So my game plan is to go up, eliminate this, So I ended up getting it. Yeah, it's not going to wipe off that easy. But I almost get these. Let's pretend like I did. I get them off, and all I got is this. So I'm pretty confident right then. And I start taking chunks off here. There. Well, little bitty chunks at some points, because the bigger the chunk, the more it would try to pinch and take my saw. So I was taking little bitty pieces each time. I'd say, like, at first I was taking chunks of wood, because the tree went up here, and then it kind of separated away from the, well, it was touching, but all the pressure was right here where this weird bend in it was at. You can tell that's not natural. That tree was actually straight, but it settled into this part right here, and is so tight right here that all this tree is being held right here. It has yet to touch this branch, but I know that it will. So as I'm cutting on these, I start to take regular chunks of wood, and then I start getting down to where I'm taking just pieces about like this. And it's still pinching my saw and about to take my saw. And every time I do it, it drops down a little bit and rolls towards me. Drops down and rolls towards me. And I'm like, if it gets on this side of the tree, it's smashing the house. 100%. It's going to get me. If I can get out of the way, cool. But it is destroying this house. So I needed it to stay on this side of this branch. And I needed this branch to hold it. So as I started to work this thing down, it wouldn't let me. It got to about right here. It was so pressurized and it rolled so much that if I cut any more, it was going to be like, say it's on the tree like this, I'm holding the tree. It was straight on it, okay? I got it to move a little bit to this side, which is where we wanted it to fall. If it came this side, we're kind of screwed. It's going at the house. So I started, as I'm holding on to the limb here, and I'm above it with a tie-in, I cut, and it jars it real bad. And it starts to roll. I thought it was going to roll this way. That's what I did. I was making the cuts so the chunk of wood even rolled. But it didn't help. The pressure was this way. So it kept creeping around that limb that was holding it. Around this limb. It just kept, as you're holding it here, and if it's going straight onto it, it was moving little over, little over, little over, the shorter I made it. So it got to a point where I've no longer, like, I had cut down, and what I started to do is I started to take off the side of it and make it like half the tree off. So I could get it to go on, if I could get it to go on that side of it, it was going to fall. This would be the only thing that was holding it. But I couldn't get it to settle into that. As I started cutting there, it finally did settle onto this limb, but then it was rolling at me, rolling at me, and rolling at me to the point that I couldn't. I think that was, yeah, that would have been blue right there, and not, that limb wasn't on the right side. So here's the way it really looked. So it was like that. And this straight limb up here, up the middle, was the only thing holding it. After that, it slid off this and went around, like around that limb. It was going down onto the house. So I got it all the way down to there. We hooked a tree jack up to it. And then we took the tree jack. We ended up taking that thing way down. Where did we hook it? So we were here. And I think we took it like back down that direction, down the hill. Yeah. To try to pull back on it a little bit to get it to sneak around it. We set it up once over here across the highway, and every time we would do it, we would lift the power lines up into the air because we had to go on the other side of the road, and we started jacking on it, trying to get it to move. It just wouldn't work. And so we tried it from here first. The angle wasn't good. The anchor was really good, but the angle wasn't. So then we moved it to there. We jacked on it 50,000 times. I want to put a notch facing, so I put a notch here. Let's see. I put a notch here first. And I cut to the point that I was getting pinched. It didn't do anything. I even left way more meat on the other side to get it to roll. And then he jacked on it, still didn't help. So then I put another notch actually facing towards the road, down the hill, above it. And I cut here, trying to send it downhill. What I planned on was this one would start to move it on the other side of that limb. And then after it got past that limb, gravity was going to take over. And this one was going to let it go straight down because it was cut up. It was pinching my saw. I did everything I possibly could, and I exhausted myself. And at that point, this had me completely whipped, beat. Felt like I couldn't do it. I tried everything, and I still had this whole tree to do. This thing for my daughter was absolutely a must and super important. and I had 6 more hours to drive, and if I couldn't get it done on this day, and it just wasn't going to work out right. So as I go down here, make all these cuts and notches, I end up walking back up the hill, and I'm walking over here to go get some wedges to try to lift on it, and Jake hit the jack a couple more times, and absolute all hell broke loose. And that short is on the channel. You can see it. I think I put, this was a death trap, was the name of it. So 100% that's what it was. I'm sorry for not keeping up with comments, guys. I should have just climbed it, but okay. A mosquito trying to get me. Thanks for your many years of service. Oh, my pleasure, brother. I feel stingy and a bit conceited to keep the stuff like a secret. I don't much understand that, so it's definitely not my style. And I think it's awesome that there are guys out there that do appreciate it. So that keeps me going for sure. The price of wood that goes in the Cambium layer. What's up, everybody? How's it going? Oh, Dan K, what's up, man? I didn't even see who it was. I was reading the comment first. Let me see. I'm trying to catch up on. Yeah, it was a complete nightmare, Dano. It was, and it was like, if it was for me and something that I needed, I probably would have called it a day, rethought everything over. Like, nothing I was doing was working, and I was absolutely frustrated. At the time we were trying to get that one to pull over, that one wasn't as big as the one that it was in. So, like, and the one it was in had to be, so much of it had to be rigged. And let's just say it was a very, very long day, and I think I walked in the door sometime, maybe around 10 or so. So, and I left at 6. So it was a long day. But let's just say daughter got what she needed, and that's all that matters. So definitely was a tricky situation, Ground Pounder. Mississippi. Okay. Dang, I got way behind on comments. I'm sorry. So, it was crazy, Mike. Yeah, it was a wild one. Slow, smooth, and smooth is fast. Yep. Some kind of name like Lucifer or something. I heard it. So, let's see. That's what matters. Yeah, that is. That's the most important thing. We were able to get that girl what she needs, and she's home right now. She's not supposed to be, but she got a little homesick and came home on the first weekend. I'm trying to convince her that she does not need to tear her car up coming home repeatedly, but you know, I want to see her at the same time. So, if you guys don't mind, and you hit that thumb button, it'll help the channel, and I appreciate it. I have this thing here that I'm going to do with you guys, pulling trees over. We're going to do some demos. There's a few different ways you could do it, and I want to go ahead and do the new stuff, the YouTube new stuff for tree work, and then we'll do that. So, yeah, let's do this. So this week I seen a lot of cool videos come out, and a bunch of YouTube channels. A lot of guys were putting out videos this week. It was a good week. There was definitely plenty of content. So I purchased 7/8 Ultra Double Ring Sling from Gap, and holy crap, I purchased a 7/8 Ultra Double Ring Sling. Yeah, really. Is it the yellow one? The yellow and orange one, Ground Pounder? I hit like was number 10. Oh, sweet. Yeah, we are double digits now. Thanks. Dang it, I missed. No idea, yeah. That's big time sling, those 7/8s. Yeah, I love the one I have. It's a big Deadeye sling on that T-Rex orange and yellow rope. I love that stuff. Wish it would always keep its color. But the problem is, I love that setup so much, but it's just not one that I would use all the time. I just don't need that much. But I love that setup. I love that I can, with a single sling, I can anchor multiple tops together because the Deadeye sling is so big. And I can spread the forces out all by myself without using multiple slings. I can do it with one. Ah, YouTube must not have liked what he said. It said was held for review and I need to approve or deny. Yeah, there's just stupid words that they say that you can't say. You may have said something close to, I don't even know. It said nothing. Yeah, it's just, see, I see sometimes like a ground pounder comment will be taken away and it doesn't make any sense. So, like, I don't know. Sometimes YouTube's just goofy. I promise you, I don't think I've ever, like, put anybody in timeout or did anything like that. I got pretty thick skin. No one likes to just be randomly made fun of. So, I mean, I get why people get offensive. But let's just be honest. This is the internet, and the internet just internets. That's just kind of what happens, you know? I can't get too offended. People need a bit thicker skin these days. So, yeah, it is what it is. Hopefully, Dano's not mad. So, I'm always a nice guy. I try to be. Um, so this week, YouTube tree videos. Here's a new channel, all trees and all seasons. Now I haven't watched a whole lot of his stuff. Kind of a newer channel for me. I know I've seen him in the comment section. Seems like a really good guy. Seems like a sponge when it comes to learning stuff, and seems to be pretty experienced altogether. So don't really know where he's located. Like I said, I'm kind of new to his channel. But yeah, you can check him out. That's all trees and all seasons. He put out a video called "The Wait Is Over." Um, his new climbing saddle had arrived, and it is the DMM Kinnessy climbing harness. And he legit put every bell and whistle that you can put on one. I mean, he's even got the camel pack on it. So yeah, the water bag thing. But yeah, really good content, good channel. So if you guys ever get to where you're looking for more tree content, I'm always going to give you some new channels to check out. It's up to you to check them out. You don't have to, but these are some that I enjoy. So that's the reason for this. Sometimes a channel will put out a video that will give us a topic and a subject for an entire video, but that's not normally the case. Usually it's just I say what I saw, but so okay, yeah, I was looking at the 7/8 and 1 inch block. Okay, right on. Kinnessy comes in 3 sizes, and the back pad is 3 different sizes. It's no go for me. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I really love DMM products. So there's a chance I would like that saddle. To me, it really just looks like it looks like a tree motion saddle. That's just my opinion. Looks really close to the tree motion. Um, but yeah, if that's your thing, cool. So 2%. Oh no, dang ground pounder. See you, brother. Thanks for hanging out. Hopefully you find a charger. So yeah, I forget what I've. Oh, I mean, it's probably not meant for all of us though. So I mean, I don't think it's one that I would really like all that much either. But some guys love that tree motion setup, and I would say if you like the tree motion, this may be an option. I would imagine it's probably pretty pricey though. So that's the DMM Kinnessy climbing harness. Um, And the channel, once again, that is All Trees and All Seasons. Next channel I got into was Zacchaeus. I like Zacchaeus. He's experienced on YouTube and seems to be a pretty good tree guy. He's got a pretty big channel. I try to do a mix for you guys, a mix of channels that are quite a bit bigger than me, because I would imagine most of you probably watch them. Relatable for us to talk about. And then I want to do like half of them that are not real big channels, so we can give a little bit of a bit of advertising for those channels. Maybe get those channels a few more, subscribers and stuff. So, thank you all. Appreciate y'all. And Mike, hey, appreciate you, ground pounder. Have a good one, brother. If you're 31 waist or under, your small saddle has tiny back pad. Yeah, see, I'm a 32 tree veteran, and that's the issue. I think most saddles come in that sizing. I know the Weaver Stratus, same thing. I told him that I was a medium because I'm like 6'2", so I just took for granted that I'm not a small. Mr. Conceited over here. So I was like, yeah, I'm a medium, and turns out I'm a small. I could have wore a small because a 32 can wear either, but with the medium, I have room to grow into it, and it fits still really good. It's just I ended up having a bunch of extra adjustment straps and stuff left over that I had to hide and sew up. So I would say if you're like a 31, 32, I would go. If you're going Weaver Stratus, I don't want to tell you what to do with anything other than that. But the Weaver Stratus, I would say go medium and sew the excess strap up. And then if you ever need to, you can pop the threads out of the straps and adjust out. So I'm 30-30. Right on. Yeah, I'm looking at Weaver Stratus. It's my favorite saddle, Tree Veteran. It's just hard to believe that another one could be any better. Honestly, like it's so comfortable. It's like everything I would want in a saddle. But I don't care who you are. A saddle is not more comfortable than without a saddle. So like you're always gonna get in a bunch where you get your family jewels pinched up or something. So that's not like that stuff. I feel like happens with all saddles. Um, but as far as comfort, nothing I've ever tried has been anywhere near it. So I need to get a small correct. Um, 30-30. Probably, man. Like I think, yeah, yeah, you should, because there's still some adjustments you could go up if you needed to. So you could try. That's what I would say. Yeah, small, because then the problem is, see, I don't know. Maybe they have different back padding too for the sizing. I don't know. They may, but I know that I have plenty of back support, and good suspenders is going to give you even better back support too. So yeah, yeah, right on. Chris, I'm fixing to buy buy a saddle. I can't find a small Stratus. Really? What size are you, Chris? A 29? Dang. Okay, yeah, I would definitely say go with the small. Um, Gap Arbor Supply can't get you. If you go to Gap Arbor Supply, that's where they have the hookup. Check with Gap. That's GAP Arborist Supply. Tell him Steelborn sent you, and he'll take care of you. So Ray's my guy over there. I haven't talked to Ray in a while because he always tells me to call if I need anything, and I don't need anything, so we haven't talked in a little bit. But they're awesome. So they always have everything that I ever need. So yeah, I would definitely check Gap Arbor Supply, and that's where they were the ones that got me mine. but mine is a medium. So the Monkey Paper OG, when they were still made by New Tribe, and I have a custom 2.0 now. Oh, no problem, Chris. Yeah, Brandon, I think any saddle you can get to be that comfortable. Any of the modern, well, I can't say that. Most of the modern day saddles. The issue back in the day with the other saddles that would pinch you and stuff, all the older saddles, is because if you think about how much adjustability was there, you couldn't adjust the saddle to fit your body. Your body had to adjust to the saddle. You know, a butt seat saddle, the old Weavers, you couldn't adjust that. You couldn't adjust where you wanted that to set on your lower, thigh or your upper thigh or your butt cheeks. None of that you could adjust. The best thing you could do is the waist. That was it. And then you had your little leg straps. If you wanted them real tight, you could get it would pinch your legs to set into the seat. I don't know. So like I think most of these modern saddles that are coming out now have the adjustability to give you the comfort that you never could get before. So we got this bunch of cool guys. Yeah, I agree, Dan. Bunch of cool fellers over there. I didn't know that New Tribe closed. Tree veteran. Yes, yes, Brandon. They've came a very long way, and I know just from the way I felt uncomfortable when I switched from a butt saddle to this thing. I felt very uncomfortable. It was like I didn't even know what to think about. Like I didn't have a seat back here anymore, and I'm like, how are these things gonna work? Like what? And then I started thinking about it. Okay, I just need to set these where the seat used to be on my legs. It took me a while to figure all that stuff out because when I first was getting into these, like there wasn't videos out there for this stuff. There was a few guys who did like Hollywood videos that they showed their cutting and how good they were, but that was about it. And there was more teaching about ways to do tree work than there was like the intricate little details of what will give you a comfortable day in the saddle like there is now. The content's just insane now. So, have you seen this old drill powered ascending pulley? J-Gib. Okay, a drill powered ascending pulley. Um, oh, I've seen some guys, Jay, they have what's called the GRCS. It's a good rigging control system. It's like a $4,000 setup, and what it is a boat winch, and they can put this drill on it, and it's used for lifting branches. Um, so like if you had a branch and you had a house here, you could hook up here, and you could set the rope up, and then hit that drill. Or there's like a crank handle that comes on them. It's a sailboat winch, and it would lift that branch up and get it away from the house instead of always letting gravity control everything. You're actually pulling, and it's like having a crane. I've seen some guys that will use that to get up into the tree. If they've already set their rigging and they come down, they just tie up to the rigging, and then they're like, hey, hit the drill, send me up to the top. So I used to, back in the day, when a tree was too big around to get our hands around. Yank Doodles here, what's up, man? When a tree was too big to get our hands around, and you can still do this today, instead of throwing your rope up and getting tied in, or throwing your lanyard around, what we would do is just throw our rope up through the first crotch, or the second crotch or something, somewhere where when you got up to it, you could have a footing, and I would just, you just throw it through a crotch, and just go up, and your guys are holding the rope as you go up. And if you have like a porter wrap, put it on the porter wrap, and as you go up, and you don't, it's like rock climbing. You basically set yourself up like you're rock climbing, and the guys keep your rope as you go up, and then you don't have to tend your slack, and you don't have to fight a lanyard if the tree's too big or it's all covered in ivy and stuff. So, or they make they make a gas powered tool called a Raptor, or they actually make battery powered ones. Ronin does. But yeah, yeah, I've seen. I think maybe that's the one you're talking about, Jay. I may be wrong though. Always wanted the Onyx saddle. Can't find one in size. Yeah, I've heard good things about that saddle. I have heard nothing but good things. I don't really. I've heard the only thing I've ever heard about bad about it is I think I heard someone once say my Onyx saddle is getting too old. So that just tells you it just got used forever and then needed to be switched out. So how we doing, Yank Doodle? Yes, the Ascender is 1500. Oh, that's cool. Gap is sold out of all their Stratus saddles. Dang, really? J Gib, really? You gonna order one? 1500 though, brother. That's hey, if as far as a rigging setup, there, if you're going for that GRCS, it's amazing. I have not seen anything else drill powered. You know what? I think I may have. You know what? I did see a guy using a drill to get up into it. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. I may be a bit confused. I feel like maybe I did see that, but Zacchaeus, who's who I was just talking about. He's always messing with stuff like that. So he's one that actually he's the one that has the GRCS, and he's became very good at using that GRCS. And he often will go up, set his rig, and then ride the GRCS back up with the drill. So, well, Jay Gibb, if you order one, make a video, send me a link. I want to see it. Seth from Creation Arbor Care sent you. Right on. That's awesome. I like to see people helping. You can put a rope runner on the top of it. Yeah. I guess you could. For the most part, you can probably put most climbing devices on top of it. Nowadays, like the Bulldog Bone, or even if you're using a hitch climber setup, because it's going to collapse the system and ride it up the line. But that's pretty cool, man. That's really cool. No, Mike, he's talking about the ZR2. Huh. Red Ascender. Used with a regular. That's cool. I got my first ride on my GRCS the other day, but I'm usually solo. Yeah, it's hard to run the drill and go up at the same time, huh? Yeah, but this one's only 1500 bucks, and you can use it for a lot of things. That's cool. That's cool. So it's basically a winch, a rope winch, drill powered. That's pretty sweet. That's like those chainsaw winches. Those are genius too. But it always puzzles me, like, are they made much stronger? Because like you see guys will anchor them to stuff, but like, is it the actual saw that's being anchored, or is there like a mount for the winch that's being anchored? It's got to be a mount for the winch that they're anchoring, because I'm always looking at it when they use it, and I'm like, dang, you're gonna rip that handle off that chainsaw. But it's probably the view is not right, and I'm probably wrong about the way it hooks up. So. Doing great. Had a few rough ones this week. I did too, Yank. I did too, man. It was definitely one to remember though. We made home safe. We somehow got it done, so that's all that matters. Probably learned a few lessons. I know I did. The R2 is nice and small. It's red. That's cool. For sure, man. I just found you and subscribed. Oh, well, thanks, J Gib. I appreciate it. I'm buying it. That's awesome. But had to fix the truck and machine. Yes, ZR2 is hand operation. That's really cool. This is the ZR2. That's really cool. I'm gonna have to check into that. I bet they like the fact that they're able to sell it. And are they marketing in the tree care industry, J Gib, or is it out of the tree care industry? Because the standards and practices and like regulations that are in tree care usually will run off most products because of how strenuous and stupid it is. So just bought SK750 and trailer for 13,000. So can't at the moment. Dang man, you the man. Like great news, got approved for liver medication next. Dude, right on. It's cool to see some stuff falling in your favor, brother. You deserve it. That is awesome. I've lost 33 pounds of muscle. Praying it helps me heal and get strong again. Hey, dude, you sound like you're on the right track. You just keep doing what you're doing. Whatever it is you're doing right because things are falling in your favor now. That's just keep going, man. I got gravel. I got grapple too. That's awesome. Lots of big rigging, several big, wide, spread out trees. Yeah, yeah, that's the way most of my trees are, and I think it's so hard to watch some of these YouTube channels and relate to the way their trees are because they're usually like conifers or just straight up and down poles, and like redirects aren't even a thing in like Oregon. Like you don't use redirects on really anything. I know they have some here and there, but I'm just saying majority. And then you get like Midwest and like the other side of the country, and it's not a bunch of evergreens, and it's very wide spread out. Like you get down in Florida, they are even shorter and even wider. So that's awesome, man. That's one of my favorite things to do is figure out how to dismantle a very wide spread out tree. You got a grapple too now. That is awesome, dude. Come load for you. Yeah, right on. That's sweet. Um, yes, advertising for tree care and tested for cave rescue, pulling up to. Dude, that is so awesome. That is so awesome. Oh, that makes sense. So like HVAC stuff, huh? So that's cool. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I've seen there's so many like in tactical uh teams, tactical forces. Before Ronin came out with the electric or battery powered rope ascender, there was a bunch of tactical teams that had versions of it. They were big and bulky, but they worked very very good. And before that, the only thing I'd ever seen was the gas powered one, so the Raptor. Yeah, you the man, Gib. That's awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna kick the door back open because it got hot again. I'm actually gonna kick one of these lights off too. That's probably the wrong one to turn off, but I can't take it no more. It's hot. Yikes. Okay, let's finish up the news because okay, Zacchaeus put out a video called "Seemingly Impossible Tree Removal." It was really cool to see at like the same time. My guy Ground Pounder, who was just on here, was working with Dano. This is Dano's shirt. Dano's the Mano. So Dano's Tree Works and Ground Pounder were doing a job together, and they did some like dual terminal rigging to where they had two different rigging points, and they were transferring it over from one tree to the other, and then able to lower it. That's what that's basically kind of what Zacchaeus was doing. He was using a neighboring tree, and he was transferring it over to the neighboring tree so that he could get it away from the house and this fence. Like this tree was mashed in between a shed and a fence. So was a really cool video. A lot of cool rigging, fun to watch. Zacchaeus usually his videos are really good. So one thing I wanted to point out is it really really helps when you're doing that kind of like a setup when you're transferring limbs from one to the other, having something that can lift. Ground Pounder had a skid steer that they had set up. That's what he was using for lifting power. But Zacchaeus, on the other hand, was using the GRCS. But having that lifting power, a lot of times if you're rigging the low ones, you're losing a bit of height when you transfer. So having the ability to lift it back up with the other one is really, really helpful. So, sorry, Dano was making fun of the UT University orange shirts. Not yours, didn't notice until now. Oh, well, how dare you, tree veteran? That's funny. We gladly wear yours. That's awesome. So, yeah, that was a really cool video. Check that out. Another guy, another channel, Greg Brown. Greg Brown has been one of the biggest supporters of this channel from the very beginning. Greg has gifted me more things than I can even list. He has helped me more times than I can even mention, and he has done the same for many of the people that are in the comments section and a lot of other tree guys out there. So Greg put out a video called "Last One: The Legend Is Done." So Greg not only builds bollards, he builds climbing tethers for rope wrench, zigzag wrench, whatever. Um, he modifies everything you could think of. And apparently he does good, really, well, I knew this already. He's really good at concrete work. So that's what he ended up doing. Just wanted to shout Greg out. Normally his content is tree work related. He doesn't really post a whole lot, but Greg's my guy. So just wanted to shout him out. Um, orange football shirts. Oh, yeah. Yeah, tree veteran. So, yeah, check Greg out. That's Greg Brown. Here's another channel that, like, sometimes I love. Sometimes it kind of triggers a few of my pet peeves. And, like, I don't know. Maybe he's just a character. And, like, that's just the way he is. But that's just my opinion. Some people probably would love this. But if you like the country aspect of... Some tree guys are really city. Like, really fancy, really high tech. And you're going to get different from each tree guy. I'm a bit more country. I try to be as technical and proper as I can. And this guy would be a bit on the countryside too. Would be my label, I would say, for him. But so this is JLM Tree Service. He put out a couple videos. Impossible drop zone. Boxed in with power lines. So, pet peeve. It's hard to call a tree impossible when you are able to free cut so much of it. So that's the YouTuber coming out and like titling it, but like the guy's very skilled though, and a smaller operation is what they're running, and he's a character. He's a character. I would just say that. So he also put out he puts out a lot of content. Put out another video called "Negative Rigging a Sweet Gum Tree Removal Over a Pool." I don't know why anybody would have a sweet gum tree for shade. In the video, he says something about Daddy's trying to get Mama some more sunlight into the pool. So apparently they left the one tree, this one sweet gum tree, overhanging their pool, and that's the only tree that overhangs the pool. Ground Pounder's back. What's up, brother? So yeah, they left it overhanging the pool. If you don't know what a sweet gum tree is, they drop those little spiky balls. And they drop tons of them. It would be the absolute last tree that I would have for shade over my pool. But that is what it is. I wouldn't say it's directly over the pool, but it's close enough that all the little sweet gum balls are falling into it. It's next to the pool. and it had a little fence around it. So he did a lot of free cutting, but did apparently there was a little bit of negative rigging in that video. Then the third video was cutting down a half dead tree and the hazards of leaving it. Um, I don't. Oh, yeah. Okay. I had a question here. I was trying to see what I put at the end of this. So in his video, it was more of a free cut video. Let me catch up on comments. Back in Dano brought a sweet gumball with him on accident up to me. That's funny. Never seen one. Dude, they're such a pain. They're the worst. The only thing they're good for is a cat. If you put them around your flower bed, if a cat steps on them, they're like needles. They're like spikes. So like it'll keep a cat from pooping in your flower beds and stuff. Um, and it'll keep slugs out of your garden because apparently the spikes will stick to a slug as they try to get in there. Other than that, that's a seed pod. Wherever you leave it, there's gonna be sweet gum trees. I don't use it for any of that. I hate them. I had a buddy, very country. Now I'm country. His mom used to go out there and bag the sweet gum balls up in these little brown paper bags, and then they would burn them like logs because they burn really good and they just glow until they burn out. So, never seen one. Had a pool. I was like, that's not over the pool. When he said over the pool, I was like, that's not. Oh, yeah, Brandon. Yeah, I don't know. I think he's a good dude. I just feel like his over the top, like typical, okay, YouTube, like thing kind of gets me sometimes. Like, but at the same time, it inspires me, and I'm gonna do more parody videos of your typical YouTube tree climber, and I'm gonna do more of those. So, but I like the guy. Sometimes some of the stuff kind of gets to me. Like he put out a short saying something about showing a trick for redirecting. And what he did was he was tied in, and his rope went from the tie-in and went around a limb. And he took his rope and put it around back, like unclipped off, and went around the limb and clipped back in. And he's like, "That's a trick tip for you guys." I guess, I guess that's a trick tip. I don't really know. Like, to me, that was just rerouting your rope instead of climbing back out and around that. You took your clip off and you went around. That is what it is. Like, but like, I wish there was a bit more uniformness to the way that things were labeled and stuff on YouTube, because I seen it and I'm like, well, I always love to see a cool redirect. So like I watched it looking for that, and I'm like, that's not a redirect. You just rerouted your rope to get it from around that limb. But you know, he's growing a channel, and I'm sure I ruffled some feathers along the way as I tried to grow mine. Um, and I probably, well, I know it's been very clear that I'm not everybody's cup of tea. That's the reason the channel grows as slow as it does. So, yeah, they're weak. Tree veteran, that's the problem. They're weak trees. They get a beautiful leaf on them, big leaf, good for shade. Um, but the sweet gum balls, I've had many elderly people fall and break a hip. Like lots of people get hurt by them. They're just a nuisance. So if they didn't drop the sweet gum balls, good tree, beautiful tree. So that's the only reason I don't like them. He seems nice, but definitely does click. He does clickbait you. Yeah, I try not to do that. I try to. My titles sometimes I will walk to the edge of clickbaiting, but I try not to do that anymore. And I'm trying to move more towards simplifying the titles too. Um, because like I want to use the videos as more of a catalog, and when you name them something crazy all the time to try to get views, it's hard to catalog it and go back and use it as a reference. So Yeah, it makes me think though when I see stuff like that. I feel like it helps me better my channel. So like, it is what it is. I still, like I said, I enjoy it. I enjoy his stuff. So, and I'm sure along the way he'll get his style will probably change, and who knows? Maybe he'll kind of grow out of some of that stuff. But seems to love what he does, and that's my favorite part about it. So, I'm all for it. So, check out. Even though this is my favorite part about doing this, I know that he doesn't know for the past 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. I've shouted his channel out every week. So some of these live videos almost got 3,000 views. So check out JLM Tree Service. He's trying to grow a channel. If you like a little bit of country and a guy who just, I would love to say he's simplified, but he sometimes he'll rig for the sake of content. I feel like, or do something for the sake of the content and maybe oversell it a bit. But that's just the nature of trying to compete in tree work when it's like oversaturated on YouTube. So Brandon, do you climb gums SRT or MRS? Yep. I do a lot of DRT, but we'll do SRT here and there, but mainly do SRT when I'm doing a dead tree. Uh, did Big Hickory the other day. Gotta finish it. I never seen so many damaged damaged nuts, thousands of them. Worse than walnuts twisted both knee. Dang, man. Maybe one day my channel will make the new. Dude, oh, hang on. I didn't know. Rusty's Tree Care? Brandon? And then it's just Rusty's Tree Care. You know what, Brandon? I bet you it makes it next week. I bet you it makes it next week, brother. Tree veteran, I do SRT on 99% of everything. If I do a secondary tie-in point, I'll go DRT because I want it to be quickly retrievable. But yeah, I SRT everything. I will base anchor SRT on removals. So, and the way I do that is I will use a base anchor, I will make sure it's routed correctly, and I will use a speedline strap to lower my anchoring point as my tie-in on the last stem. So I'll do spar work, SRT base anchored. So the only issue with that is you got to make sure that you're rigging on the opposite side of where your base anchor is going. You don't want a chunk of wood to come down and the end of it be sharp enough to chop your rope. So I've seen them cut ropes before. So SRT into adjacent tree. Just did, Brandon. SGP. Is it mocker nut or bitter nut? That was all of those damn nuts in August. I'm telling, he says. Okay. So, next channel. Let's finish up the news. I'm going to try to go quick through this. Seattle Tree Care put out, like, maybe it's like part 4, accident on the job. It just shows that they have an absolutely massive operation, beautiful equipment, cool guys, big crew. No matter how big your operation is, no matter how fancy your equipment is, no matter how many years you have into this, an accident can happen at absolutely any time. It doesn't have to be when you have a chainsaw in your hand, and it doesn't have to be when you're climbing a tree. This guy ended up getting like fingers broken when he was putting down the mats. So like, just be careful. Know that an accident is just around the corner. Another channel that's Seattle Tree Care. If you guys aren't subscribed to them, they're a smaller channel, but they should be big with as huge as their operation is. But Next channel, J306. Jay is cooler on the other side of the pillow. He did a video called Quick Tree Removal. That was really good. My favorite one that he put out this week was Tree Inside Elementary School. This was awesome. And anytime you do work at a school, a daycare, or like a manor, it always ends up being very interesting. The ones I've done, you end up doing tree work in those little like spaces that they have in the building. I don't know what they call them. Where there's just a little outside area in the building. Um, what do they call those? Um, Connor, my guy's crushed his pinky putting a belt back onto the stump ground. Oh man, you never know when it's gonna happen. Just have to do your best to mitigate it. 100%, Cody. That's the smart way to approach it every day. I've had some of my worst cuts are with a handsaw because my respect for the handsaw isn't there. It's there for the chainsaw. But I will gash myself open with a handsaw because I'm not respecting it the way I do a chainsaw. I take it for granted sometimes. So, yeah. Jay did this video. Does anybody know what that little room is called? When you have like a building or a school, and in the middle of the school there will be this little outside area that you can't get to from anywhere. You got to go in from the school. Dang, I can't even think of what it's called. Courtyard. Dang, Cody, you the man. Dang. I would have been thinking about that for the rest of the night. You were awesome. So, I'm still watching, was driving home. Yeah, most of our trees around here are almost as wide as tall. So it's a lot of work to do the rigging. Yeah, 100%. And then you're putting, it's just, when the limbs grow outward and start to go horizontal instead of vertical, then you have the potential for failure is way more, and unions are much more likely to fail and stuff like that. Gravity's really fighting you a lot of times. So yeah, Yank Doodle, you're 100% right. Did I just call you Yank Duty for a sec? I don't know what I'm talking about here. Thanks again, Cody. Okay, so Jay had like a little courtyard playground. You had to take a tree down. It was cracked. I don't know if he removed the whole tree. I didn't get to the very, very end. I was close to the end when I had to stop watching. But he took a large section of it out, and they had to take it through the school, by all the lockers, through the classrooms, and then as you go out the door, there's chippers right there. I did one time in a manor, and it was the littlest little square that was out there, and I guess where people smoked. But we actually took things onto the roof and out. We used a ladder, and it was 10 times quicker to do that, and then we just loaded the trailer from off the roof. So that's my experience with it. Like I said, if you do work at a school, a daycare, or a manor, it's always something wild. So check Jay's video out. Once again, that's J306, and the video is called Tree Inside Elementary School. Tom, what's up, man? Oh, Tom was gonna save the day too. Thanks, man. And Brandon, you guys are awesome. So, yes, educated climber did crane job for first in school. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It just always seems like that. That's when they end up calling, because the lawn guys. If it's an easy tree guy or tree job, this is my experience where I'm at 1,000%. I am the last guy that gets called, because I'm that specialist dude that everyone else says they don't want it, they can't touch it, they don't want anything to do with it. Then I get called. So, same way at schools and stuff, the groundskeeper will take care of any easy tree work. But then when you get that tree that's inside the school, in the little courtyard, around all the windows and over the building, and he starts thinking about how am I even going to get, then you get the call. Jay also did some really cool cabling or bolting of the tree. Had a big crack in it, so he bolted the tree back together. So if you guys want to see that stuff, check it out. He has a really smooth, good way of it. I don't think I've ever shown that. I've used that technique, but I don't think I've ever shown it on video before. So Check out J306, Tree Inside Elementary School. Same here in Wisconsin. I'm sick of silver maples. Yeah, I got a lot of silver maples, Jay. Me too. I've been nothing. I have nothing but giant trees lately. It seems. Yeah, it seems like that's what I end up running into, also, brother. So I do a lot of pine, oaks, poplars, sweet gums, and maples. More than anything, I do hickory here and there. Yeah, hickory are really cool because I've never experienced a tree hold to the stump as good and pull fiber as and hold a hinge as hickory. Like I think probably I don't even know if I could count on both hands how many times I've taken a hickory pole over and the notch closes and the tree stays. And you gotta like sever it off because it holds a hinge so good. They are so wiry and so like the tensile strength is so strong. So did you remove the whole tree? Bolted it back together. Yep. SGP was been in big stuff. Lots of rigging in the past 3 to 4 weeks. Yeah, man, big rig stuff lately. And cherries too. Yeah, we get some cherries here. Black cherry. Black cherry get pretty tall around here. Some around 100 foot. Ground pounder. I did a black cherry one time, and I bet you the stump was. I don't know. I know that there were 5 to 6 stems, and each stem was, I don't know, 4 foot across, maybe three to at a at a minimum 3.5 to 4 foot across. Each stem was, and it grew into one massive stump. It was the biggest cherry I've ever seen. A guy from Arkansas, on the other side of Arkansas, drove like 2 days or something to get here. Maybe it was Alabama. Drove 2 days to get here for the log. That's how apparently how nice it was. But and that was a situation where I did this guy a favor, and I was gonna sell the logs, and then the homeowner got mad at the guy that I helped. So okay, a guy had the job. He asked me, "Can you come by and help me on at least half of this tree? This is the half we can't do. This that." I said, "Yeah." I came by. Tree's covered in poison ivy. I ended up doing it on with shorts and a tank top on. Just some gnarly cutting. And at the end, I'm supposed to sell the logs to get something out of the job. And they didn't haul them off. Well, the homeowner found out what I was doing, and he was mad at the guy who actually the job that I helped. He was really mad at him because he felt like he cheated him on something, and then he didn't give him a receipt. So because of it, he told me, kicked me out of his yard the day that the guy was showing up to buy the logs. And I'm not a guy that's going to argue or fight over it. When it's something like that, you know, like he wanted me to fix something that guy didn't do for him, and I couldn't do it. So I just had to accept it, and I ended up walking away. And the homeowner sold the logs to the guy, and I think he maybe probably made $800-900. So yeah, one of them times I got. For me not having medium trees are best. I make more and spend fractions of the time he gives me now. Yeah. Yes, silver maples I hate. Cherry is oak generally. Had to put down a couple gyros. What did I miss? But that's funny. I'm hungry now, Squirrely John. Just talk, squirrel. Just talk. Hickory never lets go. Love it. Yeah, it's always interesting, isn't it? River birch will hold just as good. Yeah, it holds really good. I don't know though. Like, there's some shagbark and pignut hickories. The pignut is insane. It'll pow, and they sound the funnest. So river birch will do that same thing. Easy. Yeah, see, that's hey, maybe you guys are right. I don't do a lot of river birch, so Brandon's saying it and Squirrely John's saying it, so I ain't doubting it. Just the three-headed river birch, the other birch over house, and training a guy who spoke no English sucked. I would imagine, man. But did it spikeless was stupid. Oh dang. I do a few river birches here. Okay, they have went down. I just did 15 of them. Oh, dang, brother. Right on. Man, I hate climbing shagbark hickory with a passion. Had to do one of them recently, and it was huge. Yeah, shagbark are rough, especially if you're trying to buckstrap your way up that tree. It's very aggravating, and a very very hardwood tree. So like, your spikes need to be kind of sharp on that day. But I have to do shagbark hickory tomorrow. Hopefully it helps show. Unlike today, yeah. Hopefully, there's the guy. What's up, Greg? Rarely have help. Shag bark are challenging. That bark always looks. Yeah, yeah, and that's shag bark is one reason. Like, if if you ever notice that I'll shave the sides on a tree, um, a lot of the times I'm doing that, it's because it's got loose bark, and if loose bark gets stuck between your dogs and your bar and chain, it'll like get in a bind a lot of times. So shaving the sides just gives a good spot to get the dogs into and make a good clean cut. And sometimes I'll do that to short or shrink the size of the tree so I can make a single pass instead of having to cut half on this side, half on this side. But I want a bollard if possible. You're a smart man to want a bollard. They are the best in my opinion. Sharks are badass, Greg. I haven't done a shag bark in a while. A couple months ago. Had a close call the other day. Yeah, porter rep would get in a bind sometimes. I always worry about taking someone's fingers off. Um, so I have my covered lanyards, 4 hickories. They fight you all the way up to the end. Yep, yep. I don't really climb anymore without setting a rope first. I always have my tie-in point on my way up, and a lot of times I will just rope walk. Like, I was really bummed that I wasn't able to rope walk on that tree in the picture, the burnt one, because I had to go up that burnt tree because my tie-in point, when I threw the rope up, it went over a little peg, like a little stick, and the stick wouldn't break. So I ended up having to buck strap up, and it was stupid. I hated it. I just wanted to rope walk up, and it would have been 1,000 times easier on me, and I would have been much cleaner looking. Hit up the email, true veteran, and I can go in touch with Greg. Yeah. Chris Bryant, Edward Tobar, what's going on? How are you guys? Is the pie the best method? Oh, let's do this, guys. Let's go um with taking a tree over. Let's show these few things. We were about to hit 2 hours, and I have a wife inside that's probably waiting for me. So let's let's do tricks and tips for pulling trees over. All right. All right, you guys ready? So we have our setup here. I'm gonna move this. Move all the stuff that's around it, so the visual is much cleaner. Okay. So if you missed last week we did a discussion on how to on multiple different kinds of rigging setups. So the way we did that, I had this spread out tree. There was a bunch of limbs and stuff, and I showed every rigging technique. So if you're interested in maybe seeing something like that, go to last week. 1 week ago, I did a live feed, and in that live feed, we did a bunch. I showed how to set up a stronger rigging setup. I showed tip tying. I showed the kind of the nuance, like everything rigging, everything that I could think of, and in all the basics of rigging I showed. Um, like span rigging, tip tying, end over, balancing. I showed the spider legs, how to do all that. So, does anybody else throw line and pulley up with your MRT technique? I mean, you can, J Gib. You could easily just have an anchor rope where you throw your rope, and instead of having this tied to the end of it, you have a pulley, and then throw the pull line up over a limb, and then pull this back up with your climbing set up in it. DRT, pull it up, and then base anchor this end, and then you can climb off this, and you have a retrievable setup DRT. But yeah, I don't want to get too much in that. I never used the loop. I would do a cow hitch. Right on. Okay. So with that rigging setup, I have a bunch of these little things. And like, here's a dead eye sling, a ring. And then I have, right here, I have a double ring set up. Down here I have like an ultra sling kind of set up and another double ring set up. And I showed how to spread them out throughout the tree and how to build your rigging to be much stronger so that you can rig much bigger pieces. I also showed how to set up and make a spider leg so that you can hold the rigging in 2 spots instead of just one. You have double control. That way you can start to get stationary rigging as opposed to positive or negative rigging where the branch flips or goes end over or drops out. So that's a big top for sure. Yeah, yeah. The other day I only had a medium quarter wrap. Okay, so you're telling them how. Okay. So this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna show you if I was pulling this tree over. You guys see this gnarly bend in it, right? Dog legs back. So let's say we're gonna put it. Let me take this limb off. Okay. Oh no, I cut my spider leg. Dang it. I didn't realize it was in it. But so if I was rigging and I got to where I was down to this, normally, let's just say you're not rigging. You show up and this setup is there and you wanted to take and fall this thing. Normally, you would take a throw ball, throw it up through a good prominent fork, then you would pull your rigging rope up. We'll pull the other end of it up like we normally would. So you're going to pull it up, and let's say it's right there. Goes over that, and it comes down, and you go to pull it up. Normally, things aren't absolutely perfect like this. I smell something burning. Yeah, something's burning. That's weird. That's weird. Dang, it was weird. I don't know where that smell came from. It smelled like burning, like electrical. Oh, that's gnarly. What the hell? Oh, what was that? Okay, forget it. Here's the problem. When you go to pull your rope up, and most of the time, you are not going to get a perfect throw that goes around the tree to where you can just go get your rope and it's got a clip on it. right there, and you go and you clip it on. Here's what you normally want. You want to be able to get hooked up. You want to have a high pull point. Now, if you're pulling from here, you're pulling in the middle of the tree. You have no leverage. You can sometimes get away with this, but the leverage is up here. Especially when you have a back leaner, you need leverage. So if it was leaning out this way, I would pull in the opposite of the lean. I'd put a notch. I'd put a tree jack. I would jack that thing over, and you know, it it would work really good. Here's the issue: is that normally I'm not going to get a throw with the throw ball that goes perfectly around the limb. And then when I go to cinch up, what happens a lot of times when I go to cinch up is it doesn't work this perfect. So you go to put it there and say like it's stuck like up over that twig or here like this. It ends up being like you get a good throw there, but when it comes down, when you go to hook it up, you have all this pull up where it could get stuck. Like it should go there, but watch. Ah, now I'm stuck here. Now I'm getting a pull from like here, which I don't want. So like this is the reason I use other methods, is because it's too hard to get that perfect throw a lot of times. It's aggravating. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll base anchor this thing. The reason you would want to base anchor is because when this comes over, you're hooked up there. When this tree lands on it, it is so hard to get your rope back out. You end up fighting, having to cut it all up. You can cut your rope sometimes because when it comes over, it smashes your rope up underneath it. Here's my favorite thing about base anchor. You throw the line up and you got up over this fork here. These rings out. So let's say you got up over this fork. It went up, over it there, backside of that, and it come down. Now, you seen what happened when we tried to hook this up. It pulled up here, got stuck on this stub. It's going to get stuck on one of them stubs. Well, if you're base anchoring, you would bring this down here, you would pull it around the tree, and clip it off. And then you would adjust it up to right above your notch. Right where you're going to put your notch, and you would anchor it there. So now, when you go to pull, you're getting the pull point from there. And you're getting flex back here on the back side of the tree, which I like. You can get the tree to kind of flex forward. Like, see how it moves? You have all the leverage in the world, and that's going down the back. You can kind of take some of that negative space away by adjusting where your anchor is at, by pulling it around where it gets the bite. So if you pulled it to there, now you see there's less space back there. Where there was a good little chunk, now there's less. You could, in theory, go ahead and, before you clip it off, if you have the ability, you could take and wrap it around a couple times. So now it goes up and around, but it's still up through that fork. I still have all that leverage. And it works really good. In my opinion, I prefer a base anchor pullover. I don't do these twists because it'll totally cancel out my favorite thing about base anchoring. The fact that it's super easy to set up, and the fact that, now think about this, if you clip off here and you pull this tree over, your rope is no longer underneath it, it's on the top of it. So this comes over, boom, your rope's on top. It's above the log. So you can walk over there, go to the backside, unclip, and get it out from underneath it with ease, as opposed to when it's on a bite and up and around it, or multiple limbs, it's a pain. So the other thing you can do is, say we have this set up here, and we want to pull here, but there's nothing to anchor to. There's nothing here. But there's something over here, and there's something over here. So let's say the little blower, and then I'll use my hand for the other one. You could put a pulley up there That would be the way I would do it. Or rings. You could go up here, and what you're doing is you're splitting the difference and getting a mechanical advantage up here now to pull this tree over. Because now you can pull this way, and the reason you want this is because there's no pulling spot here where you would want to go. So instead, you ran it off there and then back to here, and you're splitting the difference between. You're going to go where you want. See, we're getting that pull, the direction we want. So you can always kind of make your rigging work for you. Sometimes you don't have the perfect anchor, but you can split the difference with a setup like this. You could also get a mechanical advantage on the tree by base anchoring. So if you have it hooked up there, you don't, it's going to be under the tree, but sometimes you have a crazy back leaner and you want a mechanical advantage from your rigging from up there. So you have like a pulley up there. So now you're getting a mechanical advantage here to help with the pulling that you're doing from here. The problem with this setup is this ends up taking impact and getting smashed. You end up messing your pulleys up. So Jay Gibb, you taking off, brother? Have a good one. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you. We use the motorcycle communications helmets, headsets. Me too, Yank. That's exactly what I used to. So you can use that setup. That works really, really good. I'm trying to think if I had another one. I'm sure I did. What was it? So there's base anchor, mechanical advantage. I'm sure I'll think of it afterwards, but yeah. Get creative with your rigging. You just have to know your angles and know that, like, because of this bend right here, it changes the way I would pull the tree. Now, if I was taking this tree out, you see that hard lean, and I wanted to go right at you guys, my notch wouldn't be right at you guys. Like, well, yeah, it would kind of be right to the side of you guys here, and I would pull more over here, like away on the other side, because I want to overcompensate for that crazy bow leg, like lean that it's got to it. So, also too easy to use when I ain't talking to people. I'll listen to podcasts or music and just, yeah, me too. That's exactly Chronic 1771. Good info. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's my favorite thing, Brandon, about the communications is that I just put music on and I just kind of tune out and I can get some stuff done. So, um, yeah, those are good pulling techniques. Any of them can be used. I just say the most important thing is to have a very high point, as high as you can get, and wood that is of good strength. It's going to be really hard to get a throw ball to perfectly go around the center stem and get it where you want it. So often, base anchoring can be the easiest way for setup and is still just as strong. The thing with base anchoring is you want and you have to be in a strong enough and prominent enough fork that it will hold all this pulling. So that union looks big enough, looks strong enough to do it. I wouldn't say run it off this little twig here or that little twig there and around it. I wouldn't trust that because that's going to break. A lot of times when I'm base anchoring, same way with I'm looking for a tie-in point and I'm base anchoring, I'll throw it over that limb and want to be there because if this broke, I have a backup. There's another one to catch. So those are just little tricks, like things to look out for. But yeah, there's just so many different ways to pull a tree. And the reason I started thinking about that, it's so simple and quick to set a rope in a tree. I don't understand and don't really like banging wedges, and I don't really understand or like bottle jacks. But that does remind me, Tree Veteran Service, or no, Veterans Tree Service put out a video. VTS and guilty of treason takedown tree jack in that video. Um, I'm not a fan of the tree jack because I feel like it's lifting and separating the actual log from the stump. It's not pulling it over like you would want and swinging on the hinge. So me, I don't feel like it could be as good or maybe as effective. I'm just maybe not as good with it. And I feel like they're excessively crazy heavy. I feel like setting a rope and using a normal rope tree jack is far too easy and too effective to use a different technique. So, let's say in this scenario, the tree would turn because of the bend. What do you mean? Oh, I need some heavy eye contact. What the? Um, let's see. Did I miss some? Because of the bend. Well, not like I wouldn't say necessarily it's gonna twist because of the bend, but you have to. You're definitely gonna want to leave enough hinge. You could definitely get a twist when you have a setup like that. Like, and you can use that to your advantage a lot of times to get the twist to happen. But yeah, I feel like I've had I've base anchored some trees that have like an arch to the back of them. And my favorite thing about base anchoring is I can actually get the bend out of the tree by pre-tensioning and almost make it straight. And I feel more confident about doing that as opposed to doing it from the top because it's pulling on that from one point instead of causing compression like the base anchor is. It's just pulling on the one point. If there's a bad spot anywhere throughout it, it could potentially fail. So AAA tree service. You should always tension to see how it reacts. 100%. That's your little bit of info. Your bit of a cheat. You can see how it's responding with a little bit of pull, so you know how. There's just so many different things. Like every little thing you do should give you a little bit of info. um, like going up in a tree as you're cutting limbs a lot of times. On my way up almost every tree, I will cut a few limbs on my way up to see how they respond peeling. Because knowing how a tree is going to peel and hold onto the cut could be the most helpful thing in the world. So I'll do testers on my way up. If I'm about to rig, I will test a smaller limb out to test the system to see how it's going to respond. Because a lot of times I'm using multiple redirects and I know how strong for the most part each one is, but how do they work in unison? So, yeah, all that stuff is just, that's free info. Like, that's like a cheat. And, you got to use it to your advantage, Triple A. You're 100% right. Speaking of the rope jacks, how do you like other? I always just do a pulley and make a homemade pulley system and use a few wedges as needed. Um, I use a maze dam tree jack on every single one. It's so simple to set up. It's so cost effective. Um, they make versions of it that are cabled, but the problem with them is they have a little pulley on them. You get a mechanical advantage with the cable and the pulley, but you only have so much length. And if you don't have the tree over center before you run out of length on those, you're in trouble. So I use the Maze Dam rope puller is what it's called. It's called a rope puller, but I've used those since I was a kid. That's the only other tool that I can think of when I was a kid that we had. We had a tree jack, a Maze Dam rope puller. So yeah, we had a couple carabiners and a tree jack. So we did a lot of crazy trees. It's only anchored at the top, and the pulling on it with the bend to the right, it would turn depending on the pull angle. Yeah, I mean you could get a lot of twist because of the pull. That's why the overcompensation is for, to negate the twist and weird twist that it would do when it tries to come off the stump because of the back lean or the weight. Or you got to make that pull angle counter react anything that you can. That's why a lot of times you will go with your notch against the lean if you can, 100%. Because if you're doing that, you're causing compression into it and you're getting good, steady, straight pull as opposed to pull off to the side. So when you have one that's at a lean like that, has a dog leg, that's where you will overcompensate this way more because you're pulling from here and you're trying to cause some compression like you would if you set a rigging setup. 3-1 with a humble, very much. Yep, that gets her done, J Gib. I have used a cable one a handful of times. I know exactly what you mean by running out. Yeah, it does. It's not near as long as you would think. I've actually pulled trees over using an oversized ratchet strap. Like, I used an oversized ratchet strap one time and used it as a tree jack. I just made a loop in the end of the rope, hooked the ratchet strap thing onto it. Same thing. After that's full, though, it's full. If you're not over center, kind of goofed. How do you spell the name of that rope puller? It's Maasdam. 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 2 A's. You got her ground pounder. He said, nope. Yeah, I can imagine what spell check's doing to you right there too. So, guys, we're over 2 hours. I would love to just sit here and talk to you for the rest of the night, but I do gotta go and see the wife. So, you guys are the best. If I can help you with anything, I'm always here. Leave me a comment. I didn't actually make it through all of our news this week. So I apologize to those people. They were big channels that I missed. I got through all the smaller ones, I think. But, no. Dano, Treeworks. That's the last one I'm going to tell you about. Dano bought a winch and made a reese hitch setup for his winch. A battery-powered winch. Really cool. Check his video out. That's Dano Treeworks. Spelled just like that. Guys, thank you for hanging out. I will see you next week. This is the end of episode 20. We'll do 21 next time. Stay safe. I have a video for you guys tomorrow. It's already uploaded. So enjoy, and I will catch you next time. Have a good weekend. Have a safe week.